getting started.
Getting started. I'm just getting started.
Just getting started.
Getting started. I'm just getting started. Yeah, I'm getting started. I'm just getting started.
Getting started.
Getting started. I'm just getting started.
I'm just getting
Watch
started.
the beat get diminished. Only start when I finish. Always had a vision. I can feel it like Braille. Handle business and I handle bars, but I never took a L. Get it for yourself, drink it from the well. This that holy water, come and get a sip. I don't lack, drive like a dealership. I don't pretend, I gotta win. I'm on 10. Yeah. We been working just like surgeons. Hey, honestly, it's no fear in me. Y'all gonna need more security. Can't harm us, got armor. Look both ways for you cross us.
Shine, rain, there's nothing that can stop me. I know one thing. Please approach with caution. I do not play, and I promise, don't want no problems. Look at what you started.
I'm just getting started. Getting started. I'm just getting started.
Just getting started.
Getting started. I'm just getting started. Yeah, I'm getting started. I'm just getting started.
Getting started.
Getting started. I'm just getting started.
I'm just getting started.
Hold up, bring it back. Tell me what's the deal, only do the real. Put up in the foreign, yeah, my whoop appeal. Say they run in town till we run them out. Never seen a drought. I don't behave, I am a wave. Please get up out of my way. Pushing the gas, stay in my lane. They copy the swag, but we ain't the way. We ain't the same, attacking the clones, they doing the most. I can't be a part of this game, I can't do that, ain't part of my ways, no way. Yeah, milking a game that's half and half, I'm dashing fast to the bait. Hard work, no fate, make moves and y'all can't wait.
Shine, rain, there's nothing that can stop me. I know one thing. Please approach with caution. I do not play, and I promise, don't want no problems. Look at what you started.
Just getting started. Getting started.
Welcome to WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. It's a 2 for Tuesday, which means we do our normal stream at 9 p.m. and we also do a bonus stream at some random time during the day. Usually it's later. Today it's earlier. What the hell? We got a ton to talk about. We might do stuff later too. We'll see. Hi. Delighted to have you. Thank you for joining me. This is a show where we talk about what the internet is talking about and then what you can do about it. Got a lot today. Starting off rather serious. We're going to try to end it on a happier note so that we can keep our energy up in order to fight the good fight. However, there's just no way around it. It would appear that we're just full on back in the time of lynchings, and it's worse than it was before because the crimes are every bit as egregious, and we can no longer claim ignorance. We've seen this before. We should know better now. And we don't. Somebody shot another black person through a door after goading them into coming to that door. Awful. We're going to talk about that. Then, the Uganda anti-homosexual legislation. Well, it got started right here in the good old US of A with a hate group that we refuse to do anything about. And finally, as a palate cleanser, Lauren Boebert absolutely embarrasses herself by being bad at her job. She's a bad employee, folks, and you should fire her. For God's sake, you should fire her. Well. Got a ton to talk about. We're going to get to it. We're going to try to have some laughs along the way because it is a better alternative than crying. Here we go. Wanted to start today talking about this right here. You ever see that? If you're a person of color that's been walking through let's say a grocery store, and in a town that you're not normally in, maybe a primarily white town, you've probably seen this quite often. You know, just that way too chipper smile. Hey, yeah, probably most of the time it's just a socially awkward person who accidentally made eye contact and has no idea how to deal with others. But, you know, sometimes it is exactly what you think it is. Sometimes it's a white person who sees a person of color and is just desperate to communicate to them, I'm not with these Klan members. Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? It's certainly not good to remind somebody at every opportunity that they're of a different tone, literal skin tone than you. It's not a good thing. But I'm here to speak in defense of that person, of the awkward smiler. I'm here to give you, as a regular awkward smiler, I'm here to give you the breakdown on the mentality of that. If you're a person of color, and this happens to you, first of all, I'm sorry. Second of all, let me assure you, as somebody who has done it for both reasons, usually, even when it's a person of color, usually, I'm doing that awkward smile simply because I'm an awkward human being. And it's just that I've made eye contact with another human being, and I got this mug as a standard. I don't want him to think I'm scowling at him, and I overcompensate. But truth be told, sometimes it's because I've just watched a couple of news items like we're going to deal with today, and my heart is broken. And I just so badly want to find some way to communicate to this other person that I'm not with the bad guys. I'm like a regular guy that doesn't want to see people get killed over their skin tone. So what can you do about that? First of all, imagine for a moment that the situations were reversed and your community had a slight majority in the country, and for some reason, I say your community as though these other honkies are my community, but people who arbitrarily look like you are doing crimes, is my point. Really awful, despicable crimes. How would you react if you came across the people who are normally the victims of those crimes? And in this case, yeah, all black people are the victims when one black person is gunned down and nothing's done about it. Because they're being told that their lives matter less. They got to carry that weight every day. And I acknowledge it doesn't help, actually. It doesn't help when a random white person seems to notice their skin and does one of these. Doesn't help. But it's like a hiccup. It's like accidentally looking at cleavage. It's like it's a social faux pas that is not intended to it's not something I think that we normally are trying to do. It just happens. To give you a sense of what I'm talking about, here is some random doofus encountering a new horror that he was ignorant of. Imagine for a moment that you're... Imagine for a moment that you are in a community that people go out of their way to keep ignorant, because this community needs to be ignorant for a corrupt system to work. And slowly but surely, you're waking up. One thing that is rarely talked about is how often that results in a horrific realization. Here's an example of that realization being had in real time. It's a clip I found from a live stream that was on the internet, a small channel, and it's a well-meaning honky being told that a situation that was already way worse than he once thought is actually even worse than he realized. Thank you for that. Wireless Mike, there were other towns that were destroyed back in the 20s, Jake. Black communities were targeted back in the day. That's deeply, deeply sad. And I'm going to hit the bottle something fierce this weekend. While I Google that and look into the reality. Well, tell you what, folks. That was yesterday's stream. My point is, we all have to carry that weight. Everybody on the side of the angels, everybody who's a decent human being, has to carry that weight. Obviously, the victims of these crimes have to carry more of it. But when this happens, because I suspect it's going to, if you're a person of color, I'm trying to prepare you, I suspect you're going to get a lot of that smile. When it happens in the coming days, remember that this is somebody who is on your side. They might not be doing a great job, but that's just because they don't know how. What I would recommend you do, give them a big old smile right back. Just acknowledge to them that you see them trying to be a good person. Even if they're awkward, even if they've just annoyed you by doing that. Or if it really does bother you, you can pull them aside and explain to them why it bothers you. And I bet you they're going to be eager to learn. Because that smile happens when you're desperate to do something and you don't know what to do. So you pour in as much friendliness as you can to try to tell this new person you've come across that they're welcome in your company. And should things go down, you're on their side, not on the side of the racists. No, white people don't deserve special sympathy. No. Racists of any stripes, and no, of course, not all white people are racist, but racists don't deserve special sympathy. However, as we are building allies, I just want to put it out there that an imperfect ally is still an ally. And because you're very much in the right, of course, you have a right to exist. And because you're in the right, you're going to have the majority of people on your side. And so you're going to have a lot of imperfect allies, because most people are imperfect. take it as a good sign. An annoying sign, like having pains in your muscles the day after working out, but a good sign. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Ooh, we got 3 people on the early stream. Well, all right, fair enough. And oh, let's see if we got. There we are. And just a heads up, if you hit the like button, you'll make my whole evening. If you're enjoying the stream, certainly go for it. And if you have questions, toss them in the chat. I'm happy to answer. Or criticisms. I do love masochist. I love a criticism. Well, let us talk about the thing I'm made really sad by today, and that is the killing of a mother of 4 for the crime of being a good mother. We're gonna get into it. We'll start recording in a moment, but just I suppose, quick trigger warning. If you don't want to hear about a mother of 4 getting killed, I can only say I don't blame you. But nonetheless, I think we got to talk about it because I think we need to take action. Well, it has happened again. I think at this point we can call it a pattern. Quick summary. A woman in, I believe, Florida was given the news you don't want to hear ever, which is that an adult was harassing her kids. She went to speak with that adult. And when she knocked on the door, she got shot through the door, and she was killed in front of her kids. Of course, the woman was the person who shot her, the woman that shot her to death, that murdered her, was immediately arrested. And I'm just kidding. This is the United States of America. The mother who was murdered in front of her children, she was black. And the person who murdered her was white. And so the sheriff really needs to think this one over. Really needs to be absolutely sure that there was a crime done here. Look at an NBC News article about this. Calls for woman's arrest grow. Again, justice must be called for after the fatal shooting of her neighbor in Florida. This is by Antonio Planes. Calls are growing for the arrest of a woman accused of shooting her neighbor Friday in Florida in an incident a nationally renowned civil rights attorney described as an unjustified killing. I think that is a correct way to describe it. The children of the victim, identified as A.J. Owens, were playing in a field near an apartment complex in Ocala, when attorney Ben Crump said an unidentified white woman, 58, began yelling at them to get off her land. Her land. An apartment complex. And calling them racial slurs. According to Crump's statement, after the woman yelled slurs at Owens' children, they accidentally left an iPad behind, which the woman stole. He says, took. I say stole. If you scream at kids and scare them away, and they drop an expensive piece of equipment, and then you take it, that's stealing. When one of Owens's children went to retrieve it, she threw it, hitting the boy. So now she's assaulted a child and cracking the screen. Owens walked across the street to speak to her neighbor after she learned what happened, Crump said. She knocked on the door, and at that point, the woman allegedly shot through the door, hitting AJ, who later died from her injuries, Crump said. At a news conference Monday, Marion County Sheriff Billy Woods did not confirm or reject Crump's account, telling reporters he was not going to stand here and tell you what they're putting out there is inaccurate. It's just I don't know yet. Okay. How about this? Oh yeah, and then there's these things. There had been a long-standing neighborhood feud between the shooter and Owens about her children. The children may have been hit by a pair of skates. Was something thrown at them? Yes, but not directly at them, from what we're being told now, Woods says. When Owens came to the shooter's door, there was a heated exchange. Owens was shot through the door. At least 2 of Owens's 4 children may have witnessed the shooting. Woods promised Owens's family his office will provide all resources available to seek justice in the case. Okay. Let's drop the bullshit. What do you say? I got something I want to tell you. Let's assume for a moment the worst about Owens and the best about this racist see you next Tuesday. We have multiple witnesses in the form of the children that racial slurs were used. Assuming the worst, okay, there's a long-standing feud. And let's just say that Owens couldn't wait to whip this woman's ass. Let's assume, even, that Owens came there to do just that. Good. Anybody who uses racial slurs on children, we have a duty as a society to make sure their teeth get kicked down their damn throat. And ass whipping is called for in that situation. That is a normal reaction to that nonsense. Sheriff isn't denying that the children were assaulted. Throwing something at children is assault. Poorly executed assault, you don't throw things at children. You don't physically attack children. Even if it's not legal to go attack somebody who attacked your children. The question the law is supposed to be asking is, what would a reasonable person have done? I think I have an answer for that. Let's go to the king of reasonable people. I want to reframe this just a little bit. Let's look at what a reasonable person does with folks like that. See if this makes sense to you.
I'm gonna kick your ass. I'll kick his ass. Someone's gonna kick his ass. Come here, I'm gonna kick your ass. And I also have the authority to kick your ass. Maybe I ought to tie that long hair on your head to the short hair on your ass and kick you down the street. You two take turns kicking each other's asses. And the second I see some ass, I'm kicking it. For your next trick, why don't I kick your ass? Because I want to know whose ass to kick. I'm gonna kick your ass. Or I'll step over this hedge and kick your ass. And it'll match your ass when I'm done kicking it. You thief, I'll kick your ass.
And man,
Hey, I'll
take it out
kick
on
your
day
ass,
one,
I
part,
tell
man.
you
I'm
what. Let us go now, and I promise I won't kick your ass later. I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna have to kick your ass. I'm gonna kick your asses. You're next. I'm kicking your ass through that thing. You give that back before I kick your ass. Take off that crown. I'm kicking your ass. Trust me, getting your ass kicked isn't gonna make you feel any better. Or you'll kick his ass. Would a prepubescent girl be able to kick your ass? I ought to kick my own ass. And stay away from my son or I'll kick your ass. I'll kick your fat
Hey, just one more time.
my own ass. And stay away from my son or I'll kick your ass.
I think what we've learned here is that if Hank Hill was a black person in the South, he would have been shot through that door. There's an unreasonable double standard. There's nothing about this that needs special attention paid to it by the sheriff. Here's a question. Were there signs on the apartment door that it had been that Owens had been trying to force her way in? Somehow I doubt it. I very much doubt it. Truthfully, I don't know yet. We'll find out. But unless Owens was actively trying to kick down the door, this is premeditated murder. In fact, even if Owens was trying to kick down the door, unless it was clear that she was making progress, why wouldn't you just arrest the 58-year-old racist see you next Tuesday who shot someone to death in front of her kids through a door? By default, when you shoot somebody through a door, it's pretty clear that you are attacking somebody from a place of safety. There have to be really wild circumstances involved for that not to be an immediate arrest. I don't want this person out in the community, presumably still armed. Premeditated murder. Why? Because she called a bunch of kids. First of all, they were not on her property. They were in a field near an apartment. Let's just assume, again, the worst case scenario. Okay, that field is owned by the apartment. It's not owned by the 58-year-old racist. She just didn't like black people near her. She used slurs. She assaulted the children. Doesn't matter if she threw the iPad or the skates. Doesn't matter. She stole from the children. What would a reasonable person expect to happen next? You'd imagine you're going to hear from their parents. She goaded that woman into coming over to her place and then murdered her. And the fact that we are once again having to wait to see if this will be handled like murder means it's going to happen again. It means another person will do this because they think, I bet I could get away with it. I could get me one of them N-words. I'll just pretend I was scared. A message to white Americans. You're cowards. I don't like that you make me look like a coward. A lot of you either engage in this nonsense or you don't do enough to stop it. This is on us. Hey, white people, this is on us. We need to stop this. We cannot ask black people time and time again to be the ones making America a decent place. I don't want to see a march where it's a bunch of black people out there demanding they be treated like human beings. I want to see a march where it is wall-to-wall white people demanding this sheriff arrest this. See you next Tuesday. It will already happen again. We've already failed. Because the last time this happened, when a guy shot a kid for daring to knock on his door, there was hesitation by the police. Because to them, the extraordinary circumstances, the thing that makes this so important to get just right, is that it was a white person who killed somebody. Because if it was a black person who shot a white person, we wouldn't have even heard about it. It would have instantly been an arrest. The trial would take about 5 minutes. I put the contact number or the contact page for the sheriff's department in the description. Use it. Call them and tell them they can either, this is Sheriff Billy Woods, of course. You can tell Sheriff Billy that he can either send some deputies to arrest this murderer or send his deputies to get ready to redirect traffic for the protests, which we will be attending. I'll take the damn bus to Florida if necessary. The crime says a lot, and the hesitation to do anything about it says so much more. Xavier, hey, I hit the like button. Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. My word. It is a hell of a strange time we're in, but that is incredibly valuable to me and what I'm trying to do, which is doing the news, but without the, what do you call it, the yoke of without making money for the billionaires I used to work for. Who, don't worry, I never met. I was not a famous guy, but is highly appreciated, my friend. Well, it does. It's the next thing we got is not as depressing. I'm not going to tell you it's not depressing, but it's not as depressing because it's farther away, and somehow that makes it hurt a little bit less. Not a ton, but a little bit. Oh. Trying to decide how best to do this. Oh, you know what? Let's do the vidya instead of reading it. I like that Rachel Maddow gal from time to time, and she's got a new podcast coming up. So I'll promote her just based on that. I don't love that Rachel Maddow gal, but I like her. And if you're new to the stream, let me tell you some of the things that you have to look forward to. Long, awkward pauses while I forget where I put links to things. And this screen when I remember to record. But with the flaws come a brutal honesty, which I think is a lovely selling point. All right, let's do this. Well, America's problems have become the rest of the world's problems, as usual. This time we go to Uganda, where we're getting gay folks killed. The good news is, this means that civilians, like you and me, actually have the ability to save lives. You know how they do that thing where it's like, you can save a kid in this country you've never heard of for just the price of a cup of coffee a month. It's sort of like that. Except, what you do is write one email to your representative. And what you accomplish is redeeming an entire country. The honor of a whole country. That's pretty neat. Now, if you're not from the United States, if you're watching this stream from elsewhere, first of all, hi. Second of all, these folks exist in one form or another in just about every country. Look for your version of it. There are hate watch groups. Look up anti-gay hate watch groups, and you will find these folks. Let's have a gander.
Do you personally dislike homosexuals?
Of course, they are disgusting. What sort of people are they?
I was the president of Uganda in 2014. That was the day after he signed into law a really radical piece of legislation. It was referred to worldwide as the Kill the Gays bill, because the original version of that law called just for that, called for executing people for the grave crime of being gay. Now, if you've been watching this show from the beginning, you might remember that we covered the fight over that law extensively at the time, not just because it was so extreme, but also because there was a big American connection to it. Some of the architects of that bill were Americans, radical, anti-gay, evangelical activists and preachers who went to Uganda to sell what they couldn't get done here in this country to a different country where they thought they could get away with it. These groups carried on a multi-year campaign to get radical anti-gay legislation passed in Uganda. And they succeeded. In 2014, the Kill the Gays law was signed into law in Uganda. And what happened next was interesting. It was not just the expected legal challenges within that country. We also saw a very strong stand from the Obama White House at the time. This was from the Obama administration's press release at the time. Quote, "We want human rights abusers worldwide to know their misdeeds are not unnoticed, and would-be human rights abusers to understand that there are consequences for engaging in such actions. The State Department is therefore taking steps to restrict the entry into the United States of specific Ugandan individuals involved in serious violations or abuses of human rights, including those determined to have committed such violations or abuses against LGBT individuals." That was the Obama administration in 2014. The Obama administration also pushed that country in other really specific ways. They canceled joint military exercises that the U.S. had planned with Uganda. The Obama administration pulled millions of dollars that had been planned to be given to that country in support of their country's policing.
Now, look, I rag on Barack Obama all the time. Plenty. Didn't like about that guy. This son of a gun, he did real good. This is how you handle that. I wonder if his former vice president, now president, is doing as well. By the way, I've liked Biden more than Obama, generally speaking, because he has been, as I think Sam Cedar on the Majority Report calls it, a cipher. He does what he believes the people want him to do. Let's see if that holds in this, if he understands what we want him to do.
The U.S. at the time had planned to open a national public health institute in Uganda. Instead, the Obama administration withdrew the millions of dollars it had planned for that endeavor and moved the entire institute to another country instead. The Obama White House used all these powers at its disposal. And it seems to have made a difference. I mean, those efforts were not the only reason that Uganda's anti-gay law fell apart in 2014, but it fell apart. The law was challenged in court there in Uganda by human rights activists and civil rights groups, by MPs and academics and journalists. It was eventually struck down by Ugandan courts on technical grounds. But the big shove on this issue from the United States, by all accounts, made a difference. Now in 2023, it's back. It's worse in some ways. And this new legislation, once again, comes against a backdrop of Americans being involved in it. Once again, a backdrop of U.S. anti-gay evangelical groups pouring resources into advocating for this anti-gay agenda in Uganda. And now that same Ugandan president, the one who said he thinks gay people are disgusting, he has now signed into law an even harsher piece of legislation than what was passed in 2014. This new bill imposes, yes, the death penalty for what they call aggravated homosexuality. Life in prison for anybody engaging in gay sex. This new law makes it illegal to even advocate for LGBTQ people to have rights. Even advocacy.
Look, if we don't laugh, we gotta cry. Aggravated homosexuality. What makes it aggravated homosexuality? Damn it, that guy had six-pack abs. Aggravated homosexuality. Ridiculous. And hey, I'll credit where it's due for these rat bastards. At least they're coming out and saying it. They just want to kill the gays. Jesus Christ. So, let's find out who's behind this.
Of gay rights carries a penalty of 20 years in prison. If you are LGBTQ, you are living in Uganda right now, it is an understatement to say the situation on the ground there is terrifying. Lots of people are fleeing the country. Other people have not left their homes since the legislation was signed into law for fear they will be targeted either by the government or by mob justice. So it's happening again. This time it's worse.
The minor nitpick, but one I want to make because I do think it has a cumulative effect. When we say mob justice in modern talk, it's meant to be taken as a bad thing. You have to understand a lot of folks need things spelled out crystal clear. That's a lynch mob. Call them lynch mobs. Call it anything. But don't call it anything with the word justice in it. Because you will for sure have insane right-wingers over here saying, I like street justice. Having no idea what they're really saying. Or knowing exactly what they're really saying and trying to get away with saying it by using unclear language. So, minor nitpick, but that's more for us going forward. I'm not blaming Rachel Maddow for trying her damnedest to talk about a very real thing.
Here's a question for us. Is there an American government response that could be helpful here in the way that the U.S. response, that strong response, was helpful in 2014?
Yes, I can answer that.
How much of a special responsibility does the U.S. have in fixing things, given the role of certain Americans in cultivating this stuff over there?
full.
But also, does the
responsibility.
U.S. have a special opportunity as a country, not just a responsibility to do it, but an opportunity to help? Given that we've done it before. I mean, so far the Biden administration has talked about measures, is considering measures that very much track exactly with what the Obama White House did the last time around when this was in the headlines in 2013 and 2014. The question is whether or not 10 years down the road that's enough. Whether the U.S. could be doing something else or pushing even more aggressively.
Everything that can be done must be done. Just to be clear, this isn't a thing where it's like, well, we've got to still trade grain with Uganda. Otherwise, no. If we're giving help, aid to Uganda in any way, it's got to stop. I know that's brutal. That sucks. People who did not necessarily make this happen are going to suffer. No more. Our kindness is taken advantage of. Decent people have had their kindness taken advantage of constantly. Lawful people have their kindness taken advantage of. Anything. We have to sanction the hell out of Uganda. This is a genocide. We don't support genocide. We need to be clear about that. It's shocking and depressing that it's necessary to say that in 2023. But we don't support genocide.
Because the Ugandan government obviously knew what to expect from us. They saw it 10 years ago. They went ahead and did it anyway this time, in full anticipation of what we would do. So can the U.S. response be amped up to account for that? For how much more danger people are at, particularly since we are part of the problem for how we got into this mess in the first place. Where do we go from here? The Deja News moment.
All right, so one thing I would love to make very clear. Wicked Foxy Dragon, sorry I'm late. It's one of those days. Look who you're talking to, Foxy. Look who you're talking to. No worries. Gonna go to comments full comments in a moment. But there's one thing I wanted to add about all this. Maddow didn't say what group it was. Let's be clear about what group it is. This is Family Watch International that is getting people killed. That is Family Watch International started this Ugandan genocide. It's headed by Sharon Slater. She's a Mormon. Would be irrelevant what her religion is, except that she uses that Mormonism as her excuse. Her reasoning is that she says, in her opinion, her uneducated, hateful opinion, that she's doing a net good because homosexuality is so bad. What kind of sex do you prefer? Do you like to get choked a little bit? Don't let Sharon Slater find out. She might try to get you killed for your own good. Do you use a condom? Sharon Slater might not agree with that. She might try to get you killed. Because she makes it her business what you do in the privacy of your own home with another consenting adult. Contact your representatives. I put a link in the description. It doesn't just tell you one representative. It tells you the entire chain of people that represent you. Everybody who represents you at the national level. So that'd be the representative from your district, both your senators. Contact them and tell them, first of all, Family Watch International is a pro-genocide hate group that they better have nothing to do with. Thing number 2, all sanctions, full sanctions against Uganda. The United States better have goose egg, 0 ties to Uganda until this is undone. It's a genocide. We need to take control over what is done in our name. I've spent 36 years watching horrors be done in my name. I won't have it. No more. I have written my representatives. I ask you to do the same. Later tonight, I'll put up screenshots in the community tab. If you're looking for an example of the kind of language I use, I would just recommend keep it short and sweet. 5 or 6 emails to a district representative is what they consider a flood of emails. So you be responsible for one. Just one of those. It's all you need. Write your representative from your district. Write your 2 senators. Make sure they understand that you give a damn. And Family Watch International needs to be, in whatever form it can be, booted from the United States. This is a pro-genocide organization. This is a organization that simply cannot be allowed to exist. Let's have a look at what the Wiki community has to say. Xavier says, you got to start somewhere, and I hope your channel grows. Thank you so much, my friend. B.O. or Bo says, please don't give up. You have a necessary voice on the left, and you are good. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. Domenico, you are the man, Jake. Oh, I appreciate it. Yeah, there's no giving up. There's no quitting this old dog. Wicked Foxy Dragon having a chuckle with me. For the record, for context, if you weren't here in the past, notorious for starting streams no earlier than 15 minutes after I said they would start. Bomber Fox, it's insane the defenders of Uganda say they are protecting their people from Western degradation. I'm like, you are doing this because the religion the colonizers foisted upon Uganda, tells you to. Yeah. And, sadly, for the same reasons it's done here. You don't ever see somebody that is otherwise running the country really well turn their venom onto minorities. It doesn't happen. You see people who do a miserable job of running things try to get their people angry at minorities. It's just to give themselves an easy enemy to fight because they can't take on a serious fight. Bomber Fox, companies that directly contribute to genocide should be punished. Yes. Yes. Oh, I just wholeheartedly agree. Domenico is making my night. We'll write to the representatives later this evening. Thank you, brother. Thank you. I appreciate it. My word. Yeah, I think just like I recently heard, I don't remember if it was Young Turks or who, but as people were talking about how you'd be surprised by how, another majority report. This was Sam Cedar. But saying you'd be surprised by how dumb our representatives are, and we got a great palate cleanser coming up with that. I think you'd also be surprised by how few people it takes to sway them And we're in a time, by the way, where that's uniquely true. This is becoming a popular pastime for the left. It used to be just bored bigots with nothing better to do that wrote into their representatives. So they don't really have big teams of people to field emails. But currently, suddenly we're realizing we gotta get these people actually doing what we want. So take advantage of the fact that they're going to be overwhelmed by just a little bit of feedback. And I think you'll find we can really set the tone and taking lessons from those people we've been fighting. Instead of harassing representatives over silly nonsense like Dungeons and Dragons needs to be this or comic books need to be that. Harass them over things that matter. And I think I suspect strongly that we will see positive change. If they see it as an electoral winner, things will skew in our favor. All right, got something here. And by the way, Wicked Foxy Dragon, I saw that link you sent. We're gonna do that in the during the normal stream, the regular show at 9 p.m. But tonight or during this stream, I really want to do this palette cleanser that I have ready because I don't want people to think that the other side is insurmountable. They got a lot of what do you call it? Got a lot of energy for sure. And they got a lot of hate. But that's basically all they have. And when I tell you that people that are good at working for the people don't need to pick on minorities, that also means that the people who are picking on minorities tend not to be so good at their jobs. Let's have a look at that right now. Well, as we said earlier in the stream, people who are good at their jobs as representatives of the people really don't need to use racist or just generally bigoted nonsense to distract their voter base. But the people that do pick on minorities, those are the sort of people that are terrible, you know? Either they're so corrupt that, like Mitch McConnell or Joe Manchin, that they're spending all their effort looking after big businesses and aren't really accomplishing anything that the people in their districts will notice. Or they're just straight up incompetent. On a, I'm sure, unrelated note, let's look at what Lauren Boebert got up to recently.
So last week, the bipartisan deal to avoid defaulting on our national debt passed with overwhelming majorities in Congress over the objections of mainly a group of far-right Republicans. One of those outspoken critics was Congresswoman Lauren Boebert of Colorado, no surprise, who repeatedly promised to vote against the bill.
The bill Biden negotiated fuels inflation, adds trillions to our debt, and leaves a blank check for more of the same nonsense I came here to stop. I am not for an unlimited debt ceiling increase. As presented today, I'm voting no.
So just to be clear, Lauren Boebert said that she will vote no. She said, that's what the plan is. That's what I intend to do. That is whether or not you agree with her, we could acknowledge that that is the thing that she said was her intention. Okay, that's been established. Neat.
You heard her. She's pretty incensed there. I'm voting no. So it seemed a bit strange when Lauren Boebert just didn't show up at all to vote on Wednesday. Over the weekend, the congressman posted a video claiming she skipped the vote in protest.
Hey everyone, I am back in Colorado, but let's talk about D.C. No excuses. I was ticked off. They wouldn't let me do my job, so I didn't take the vote. Once again, Washington's power machine.
They just can't help outing themselves, huh? They just can't help saying the thing. No excuses. Provides an excuse.
A multi-trillion-dollar bill down our throats, refused to allow debate or amendments, disregarded.
Shoving bills down our throats. Just want to add that in as well as a thing that I find interesting language.
Everything we fought for in January to actually allow representatives.
Yeah, I'm sure she didn't. Yeah, never mind.
To do their jobs, and instead, they served us up a crap sandwich. Call it a no-show protest, but
Yeah, you could call it that, I guess. But is that what it was?
I certainly let every one of my colleagues and the country know I was against this garbage of a bill.
A no-show protest to a crap sandwich. It's quite a phrase, according to the congresswoman. But as it turns out, that doesn't seem to be actually what happened. A Capitol Hill producer caught Lauren Boebert on tape, frantically running into the building Wednesday evening, too late to vote.
They just closed it.
They closed it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't stop watching that. And Boebert...
Oh, come on. One more time. So remember, she said, I'm going to vote no. That is how I'm going to show people that this is something I disagree with.
They closed it? Yeah. Yeah.
I can't stop watching that. And Boebert actually admitted that she was late and missed the vote on the congressional record, saying that she was unavoidably detained. And if she, quote, had been present, she would have voted nay. So it's sort of like saying, if I hadn't slept through my alarm, I swear I would have aced that test.
Oh, God almighty. Look, I'm sure Jen Psaki has a lot of neat things to say. As a general rule, whoopsie daisy, there we go. As a general rule, I don't think you should go from politics to media. I do think you should go from media to politics if you want. But we'll get into that in a moment. Just make it real clear. Very, very, very clear. I've included the link in the description. Make it very clear to MAGA voters, if you happen to know somebody in your community that thinks these people are anything other than ridiculous, clownish liars, make it clear that this is what they are. Show them that clip, just the Jen Psaki in for Chris Hayes. First, whatever that was, 2-3 minutes. Show them that. Even if, for some reason, they agree with opposing the debt ceiling being raised because they are not terribly realistic about how things function, you're going to have to acknowledge that Lauren Boebert lied there. And you might ask the question, if she lied there, if she couldn't just say, I missed the vote, but it was irrelevant anyway, what else has she lied to you about? Also an opportunity to ask, did you hear about this from Fox? Did you hear about this from Newsmax? Did you hear about this from any of the media that you watch? I'm going to guess not. Maybe, even if you keep watching that terrible, terrible media, maybe you should include some sources which are willing to say, which don't have to be dragged out into saying some bad things about people you support. If the media you're watching never says things bad about the people you support, you need to increase what you watch. That is a good message for MAGA voters. And oh, hey, by the way, you might also want to ask him, if this was such a big deal, why was Lauren Boebert unable to get there? And if she really was delayed by something serious, why did she feel the need to lie about it? As a famous politician recently said, no excuses. And look, on the whole media and politics thing, before we jump over to the what the wicked community thinks about Lauren Boebert scrambling to fail to vote on something she said she would. I do want to touch on that. I think it's fine to go from media to politics because media is motivated by profit and politics is not supposed to be. So if you are going from media to politics, you're going to switch career tracks and do that. That's fine because you're giving up something to do that. You could argue, oh, you're gaining all sorts of other things. Okay, but you're definitely giving up money to do that. Or at least the pursuit of money as the primary factor in your job. In politics, there's set pay for the positions, and for a good reason. But it's not cool, not ethical to go from politics to media. And the reason for that is that you don't want politicians to suddenly be motivated by future profits. Oh, if I vote in a way that MSNBC will like, then maybe I can get a job with MSNBC in 6 months. Can't have that. So I'm not thrilled that Jen Psaki is on the news. I'm fine. By the way, I'm fine with politicians that have podcasts so long as they don't monetize them. I think politicians should be encouraged, in fact, to do podcasts. Yeah, let's a regular forum where you can interact with people and tell people what you're thinking. And yes, that's great. No commercials. You can't. There's an obvious conflict there. What if your Harry's Razors is a sponsor of your podcast, and then a bill comes up that would say, for X and Y reasons, we're not going to allow Harry's Razors to sell things in our district. Well, boy, have you got a conflict. All that said, I think the one position it might be okay to go from politics to media is press secretary. just because I've literally never heard of. There might be an example, but I have never heard of somebody who was press secretary and then like went on to be, I don't know, governor or secretary of state or something like that. I don't know. To me, it seems like that is a different track in politics. However, on general principle, I do stand by it. And I do also want to acknowledge that I have a bias towards redheaded news ladies for reasons that would be difficult to explain. Let's see what the Wicked community has to say. Ooh, Christine Carroll, I applaud you. You have an insight missing from most podcasts. Refreshing. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, it's, okay. Hold up. Domenico, thank you. I'm going to get it wrong a couple more times, and I ask for your further patience, even though it is a schlep for you. I would like to get names correct, and I'm going to try my damnedest. But Domenico, your name is not that hard. I just got used to saying it wrong, so I need to now change my habit. Your name is actually relatively easy to say. It's like if I kept calling myself Jake. I don't know why I'm saying things wrong, but I will keep working on it. And I really want to applaud you, man. I don't know if you've worked in the news industry, but that is exactly how people write things out in a teleprompter, and it's so useful. I really appreciate it. This channel will grow, says Domenico. I know it. Oh, man. I hope so. I certainly hope so. I think it will as well. We've had surprisingly great growth for our first 6 months of existence. Ooh, Foxy, do y'all stream exclusively on YouTube? As of now, yeah. Oh, she's answering it. Yeah. But as of now, yes, we're going to be changing that up relatively soon. Dawned on Me says, however, Jen Psaki never held an elected position. She didn't vote on bills, or am I mistaken? No, you're right. You're totally right. Tia Fulgrim says, I'd sub on other places, Twitch or Kick, I guess. Okay, noted. Twitch is the next one I'm going to try to stream simultaneously to. Really, what I'm doing with the goal, the plan is right now is to get the show smooth. Hopefully, we grow a big audience. That'd be awesome. But I want to make the product as smooth as possible, and I selected YouTube simply out of I had an account already, familiar with YouTube. I'm familiar with embedding stuff, yada yada. But time is just about come to branch out and reach folks all over. Bomber Fox, my childhood. Yes. Got to work on that beard game, sir. Oh, look, I'm trying, but it's difficult to convince a lady to agree to be in a relationship with you purely for aesthetics. I was about to say redheads have a thing about us, but you just made me speechless. That is not common. Fulgrim says, TM Fulgrim says, Twitch makes it easy for us, kind of rough for you. That's all right. I'll OBS is pretty dark. It's the main thing I'm using to get this thing out. It seems to be pretty darn convenient for streamers in general. But now that things in the personal life have calmed down a little bit, I'm not moving cardboard boxes from one apartment to another. I have the time, so I'm going to use it to improve the stream. On a related note, it's a 2 for Tuesday, folks. That means we still have the regular show at 9. If you're joining us for the first time, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed it, and if you're cool with subscribing on YouTube. If not, no worries. I appreciate the views. And above all else, do remember, if you feel powerless, that is because somebody who is afraid of your power has spent a great deal of energy trying to make you feel that way. Don't fall for it. You have the ability to change things. You can do a hell of a lot. And we are the decent folks of the United States, of Canada, of Mexico, of the whole world. The decent folks are going to win. And it's just a matter of time. And if you want it to take less time, get involved. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake.